Hi, my name is Swoszowski and I am Head of AI and Cloud R&D at Grape. Today I would like to talk about how artificial intelligence technology can help improve claims handling process and reduce claims adjustment costs, but also what is critical to operationalize and bring AI-driven applications to production. If we look at the claims adjustment domain from a high-level perspective, we will surely notice it is a very complex set of elements: processes, data, activities, documents, and many others, all depending on each other. There are many information systems and applications used within that domain, but even though we can use a computer to report and track a claim, there is still a lot of manual work behind. Many people are involved in the claims adjustment, and in many cases, they struggle with a lot of inefficiency in their daily work. Manual work might often be an impediment in performance or scalability and a source of mistakes and errors. This is exactly where AI comes to the rescue. AI-based solutions and mechanisms can automate, simplify, and speed up many parts of the claims adjustment process and eventually reduce overall adjustment costs. Let's look at the claims adjustment process in more detail. There are multiple steps on the way. When an event that causes loss for the customer occurs, the customer notifies the insurance company about the loss and files a claim. Then the company needs to gather all the information and documentation to understand the circumstances, assess the situation, and eventually be able to validate their responsibility and estimate the loss value. Finally, the decision needs to be made, and appropriate parties, including the customer, need to be notified about the result of the process. At each step of this process, AI can introduce improvements and optimizations through automated data collection, data processing and analysis, data verification, generating responses to customers. But what is also noticeable, AI can enable new possibilities and create additional value for the customer throughout the process. Let's dive into a few examples of potential AI application to claims adjustment process in more detail. The incoming correspondence related to claims is very often wrongly addressed. Statistics show that, on average, 35% of messages is incorrectly addressed. A part of them is sent to a generic corporate inbox, while others are sent to wrong people and sometimes even to entirely different departments. That causes a lot of confusion and requires time to reroute the message to the correct place. AI can be very helpful in this scenario. An algorithm could analyze the subject and the content of the message and look for keywords such as claim ID, name of the customer, policy number, and automatically reroute the message to the correct recipient. Furthermore, the algorithm could analyze the context and detect if it is a new claim report or a missing attachment that should be added to an already filed claim. Such a solution could significantly improve the effectiveness and speed of the process. The automation of processing of incoming documents and messages could be taken one step further. What if we used an AI algorithm to analyze the content of the message? Let's consider a claim report as an example input document. The policyholder can provide a claim report using multiple formats and channels. The claim can be sent using an official form, but also as a plain email message or even as a scanned paper document. The AI solution could analyze the document and extract the key information about the claim so that it can be automatically added to the claim registry system. Simultaneously, the algorithm could check if all the needed data, documents, and attachments are provided, and if not, notify the reported appropriately. In a traditional approach, this part is often manual and thus takes a lot of time. Introducing an AI-based mechanism here would drastically reduce the amount of manual work, especially in case of well-defined and repeatable cases, for example, car insurance claims. Appraisal of the filed claim and verification of reported damage is another lengthy step in the claim adjustment process. The adjuster needs to verify if the reported damage is true and if the reported case includes those that occurred previously. Computer vision techniques could be used here to automate and speed up the process, for example, by analyzing pictures of the car taken by the customer after the accident, or analyzing satellite or aerial photos of a house in case of property insurance. AI-driven verification can also help identify fraudulent operations and recognize costs that are not related to the filed claim. In some cases, invoices presented for reimbursement include items or services which should not be there, or which cost is calculated using too high rates. AI can help compare the presented invoices with estimated costs and indicate inflated rates or excess costs, for instance, in case of medical treatment or hospital stay. Similarly, the algorithm could verify whether the car repair costs are calculated correctly by analyzing the reported damage and comparing an average rate for corresponding repair services with the presented rate. Such automated verification helps flag potentially fraudulent situations and saves adjusters time, letting them focus only on those unclear cases rather than analyze each one manually. What is worth noting here is that all those solutions are not trivial. Problems we are trying to address with artificial, or to be more correct, computational intelligence are not generic. Even though these are all software solutions, AI domain is quite different. Such solutions, their performance, accuracy, and overall effectiveness highly depend on the data, and therefore it is very difficult to find a generic solution that well addresses a particular use case. There are no mature and proven off-the-shelf AI solutions out there, exactly because of this. So it seems wiser to look for narrower, more specific use cases and build specialized solutions dedicated to address your particular problem. Let's pause for a moment and look at the AI adoption over the last few years. Numbers show clearly that companies are struggling with deploying AI to production. In 2017, only 4% were running in production. Those were primarily early adopters and innovators. 1 year later, we already had 14%, a result of growing interest and AI popularity. And this growth in popularity was also visible in those additional 23% of companies declaring their intent to deploy production AI within the next 12 months, which means these companies were already executing AI projects. But 2019 shows that only 5% out of those 23 did actually deploy to production. And it is not because AI lost its momentum and popularity as a technology. It is because AI is not so straightforward. The top two challenges related to AI operationalization are understanding AI benefits and uses and lack of appropriate competence. Companies have problems translating those high-level AI use cases to their specific problems, and therefore they cannot clearly see how AI can help their businesses. If you look at reports or white papers regarding AI in some industry, you will find a lot of examples, but all of them are broad and generic and therefore difficult and costly to build. Let me show you another use case. In the current COVID situation, digital services and products are becoming critical for all the industries. Providing policyholders with the capability to effectively use online channels and virtual services is essential for the insurance industry as well. One of our customers wanted to speed up the processing of car accident claims reported through their mobile application. They faced a challenging issue as 8% of claims reported through their mobile app were rejected due to the bad quality of VIN images. Adjusters had problems with deciphering the vehicle identification number and had to request the same information from the customer. The whole process was unnecessarily prolonged and frustrating for the policyholder. By introducing a custom machine learning model trained specifically for VIN recognition instead of a generic cloud service, our customer increased VIN extraction accuracy from 60 to 90%, saving on average an hour and a half per day for each adjuster. So previously rejected claims can now be processed quicker and without asking policyholders for the same information they already provided, resulting in increased NPS and overall customer satisfaction. This is a good example of building a concrete AI solution that addresses a specific problem and yet allows to bring savings and value for the customer. So what about the other challenge indicated by companies? Lack of what skills impedes productionization of AI? To understand that problem, let's look at a typical data science project. Of course, we need to start with a clear goal definition. Then we prepare data, design and train models, and eventually deploy. Of course, this process is not linear and many times we need to reiterate and rework our models, refine data sets, or even redefine the goal. Typically, companies doing data science projects focus on data and models. Of course, data is always the starting point that determines the solution. And models are actual algorithms, methods, techniques that addresses defined computational tasks, and through that, a defined business case. But the very last part, operationalization, is where companies have problems because they lack competences. And that often happens not only with companies trying to implement AI in-house, having their internal data science or AI centers of excellence, but also with companies who outsource those tasks to data science service providers. Those service providers are experts in data science part, data engineering, data analysis, neural networks, other machine learning methods, but they lack software engineering skills. And to successfully take your AI projects from prototype and experimentation to production, you need a combination of both. Data science to build a solution and software engineering to run it. Data scientists are no software engineers. They do not care about infrastructure, storage, networks. They focus on features, data, models, training. And that's okay because that's what they are supposed to do. The lower we go down the technology stack, the less they care. But operationalization requires a lot more than a perfectly trained convolutional neural network with 96% accuracy. You need to consider infrastructure provisioning, security, automation, redundancy. You need to ensure your solution is scalable, resilient, and available. You need to constantly monitor your solution to know its health and status. And those areas are essential for a successful productionization of any software solution, including AI-driven applications. So, how to ensure successful adoption of AI? First of all, start small. Do not try to introduce company-wide systems at once. Find and identify a small, narrow case that can be improved with AI methods and which brings real business value, and use it as your starting point. And do not expect AI to be the ultimate solution for all problems. AI, of course, can do a lot, but it cannot solve everything. Productionize your solutions and use them. Do not stay in this constant POC mode. You need software engineering skills for that, so either develop them in-house or acquire it from market. And lastly, work incrementally. Improve and develop existing solutions and scale up to other parts of your organization. With that, I would like to thank you for attention. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer them now.